Hi there, welcome back. Thanks for joining me again. Today it's just another day out here walking the dog. And this will be a good one. We're talking about why even $100,000 isn't enough anymore. And so there's a poll done in the Wall Street, that's in the Wall Street Journal. I'll link to it in the description below. But they talk about a new car, new home. It just feels out of reach for middle class Americans. And normally that's just normal things that bracket gets without too much trouble. But most renters, including those earning six figures, doubt they could ever afford a home in the foreseeable future. And this is, a lot of it has to do with also where you're living. Some areas of the country, 100,000 goes way less than in other parts of the country. But based on a survey of more than 2,500 Americans between February 12th and the 17th, it talks about why so many Americans and even politicians now are concerned with affordability as the most important thing right now. So even in spite of a booming stock market and solid consumer spending, it's just something everybody's concerned about, and rightfully so. The poll says 74% of Americans can't afford a new car. But the kicker is even people making six figures are saying the same thing. So what's going on with our money? So the numbers, the shocking numbers, pretty much talks about first gas. So 71%, they say they can manage that. Gas has come down a little bit. Of course, with the recent events in the Middle East, gas has spiked up very quickly. That's probably going to come back down once all this settles down. But gas had become pretty unaffordable for some time over the last, 3 or 4 years. And it's just started coming back within this past year or so. So the hope is that something that will continue to improve. Maybe we can rely a little more on domestic production and hopefully get the gas price a little bit more of a normal situation. Vacation, 39%. Feel that that's something they can manage right now. So every once in a while I'll be on social media and someone will talk about vacation and someone will post, vacation, what's that? And that's really sad because everyone needs some time off, some time to unwind, some time to get away from the normal things and just to refresh and relax. And so vacations don't have to be super expensive. Disney vacations now, I've seen videos talking with people spending like $10,000, $15,000 on a Disney vacation. That's insanity. I'm sorry, if you're spending that amount of money to go see Mickey, you're just doing it wrong. We've gone a few times over the past few years with my family. We've been to Disneyland and Disney World. Disneyland was one day. That was kind of wild, but it is expensive. And so you can kind of pick and choose where you're going to stay, what you're going to do. But it's hard for a lot of people to go on vacation. And, vacation it doesn't need to be anything major. You can just go to the mountains or, go somewhere it's just quiet. And, depending on where you live, maybe somewhere that just has a nice Airbnb that you can just relax in. But 34% of renters think that they'll ever be able to afford a home. So only 34% of people surveyed think they'll ever be able to afford a home. And that's kind of staggering because, one of the best ways of building wealth is to have a home, pay it off, and the house will appreciate in value. It's always been the talk. And so now it's there's a lot of concerns in the housing industry. There's always been talk of it's gone up so much over the past few years. I remember young families that had just been married, start having kids. This is over the past few years during the COVID lockdowns. Housing was really hard to get. Available housing was at its lowest point in decades. So there really weren't many houses available and too many people looking, and kind of a lot of FOMO at that point where people were afraid if they didn't do something now, they'd never be able to get a house. So if you remember back during that time, a lot of open houses, they'd have people lined up down the block. or they'd have time scheduled with the realtors as soon as the house went on the market, and this huge line of people going in, multiple bids, bidding up above asking price, houses going for tens of thousands higher than the asking price. So that drove up the prices overall, because people see that and they say, well, I'm going to sell my house because I can make way more money than I ever thought I could, because it's crazy right now. So honestly, I think housing is just too artificially inflated, and I'm not sure how or when that's going to come down. So we'll have to monitor that and see what happens over the next few years. So it talks about a few people in the survey. Someone named Roxy makes over $100,000 as an HR director in Southern California. And if you know anything about Southern California, $100,000 is not a lot of money. It's a lot of money in, say, Oklahoma or Nebraska, but in Southern California, I've been there multiple times, it is not a lot of money. So she's been trying to buy a house for 5 years. Most homes start at $700,000. If you ever want to just kind of go down that rabbit hole, just pull up Zillow or Realtor.com and just start looking at houses available in California, Southern California, LA, San Diego, San Francisco. Houses, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, that might be $300,000, $400,000 in some parts of the country, or like 1.2 million. It's really rough. So most homes start at $700,000. Her rent alone is $3,000 a month, and I know some people living in Southern California, and that tracks. $3,000 is actually pretty cheap. I know someone who's had a 2-bedroom. It's like $3,700 a month, and splits with a roommate. I know someone that lived in La Jolla a few years back. This is before 2020, so prices are probably even higher. And a 1-bedroom would be like $3,800 in La Jolla. Laguna Beach. Another person, Eric, makes $150,000, owns a home, but just got slapped with a $600 medical bill. That's another thing. Medical pricing, healthcare has gone so out of reach for a lot of people. We used to have a great healthcare plan that, you'd go to the doctor, you'd basically pay nothing, maybe a small copay. Now, things have changed where, you have a deductible to meet, and, it might be $6,000 or $8,000 for the deductible before healthcare really kicks in. So at this point, you're paying for health insurance, but you're also paying when you go to the doctor, and it's just for anything critical that, if you have a hospital stay or an operation or something. So, this again tracks $600 for an unexpected bill that, you think health insurance is going to take care of it, and it doesn't. That's a whole nother video we can talk about. Tara, an $80,000 law librarian, is literally skipping meat at the grocery store. So have you seen the prices of meat lately? So I love ribeye. That's my favorite cut. And we would always go to, we go to Sam's a lot. So we would go to Sam's, and you'd get a 3-pack of ribeye, and it was around anywhere from $10 to $13 a pound. So, you're probably looking, based on the weight, it's usually around $40, $45, sometimes closer to high 30s, depending on, a lot of times they'd have some that would be coming up on its sell by date, maybe 2 or 3 days out, and they'd drop it, below $30. So it was, you get some ribeye, and I can go to a restaurant and pay way above per steak, or I can just get some good thick cuts and make it on my grill at home, and make it Chicago style, and it's really amazing. So we've had a lot of steaks over the years, and a lot of people can't even afford that, let alone maybe a strip steak or something like that. Now the problem is, instead of $10 to $15, it's over $20 a pound. And so you go to Sam's, and instead of putting 3 in a pack, they're only putting 2 in a pack. So the overall price doesn't look as bad when it's still $40 or $50. And you're like, well, that's about what I used to pay, but I'm only getting 2 steaks. So it has changed quite a bit. So needless to say, If you don't follow Meat Dad on social media, Meat Dad talks about other cuts of meat that are still fairly affordable and still really good cuts. So anyway, that's a whole different tangle there. So why is this happening? Why does $100,000 feel like nothing? So housing pricing has gone up, healthcare premiums have gone up, deductibles have gone up. Well, that's another thing. Premiums for healthcare. You're probably paying, well over $1,000 a month, maybe closer to $1,500 a month per person. I was looking at adding my wife, like if we decide to add her to my plan, and it was going to be about $1,300 a month just to add her to mine, and it's just a lot of money. And then on top of that, the high deductible, so you're on the hook for anything if you have to have anything done. So healthcare is up. New cars are now averaging over $50,000. Growing up in the 80s, well, I mean, that's when I started driving, is in the 80s. I'm a Gen X, and it makes me want to cry when I think 50 grand for an average car. Back then you're talking exotics, and I know pricing of everything's different now, but 50 grand, inflation didn't disappear, it moved to really kind of take over certain things that now, things that we need, we can't compensate now. I would never buy a new car anymore. Number one, the depreciation. Number two, a lot of new cars are just trash right now. And so that's something, want to make sure we know what the model's going to do once we buy it, and let someone else take the depreciation hit. And you really should be putting money aside every month, like you're making a payment on a car, but putting it in the bank so that you can just go pay with cash and not have to pay the extra thousands and thousands of interest, especially with cars priced so high now. So the problem is, people are actually cutting specific things. They're sacrificing vacations. Some people might have gone to the Caribbean that now they can't afford to go. Some people are cutting out health care, and so they're just not going to the doctor when they don't feel good because they can't afford the out-of-pocket. Groceries, people getting lower quality items, or skipping meat because meat's so expensive. And debt. Half of renters say they have a lot of debt or some debt, and just putting groceries on a credit card just to survive. It's like they've got to get the groceries. They'll figure out how to pay for it someday, just sticking on a card, and that increases your debt, makes it even worse. So the bigger picture, dude, the dog is trying to get back to the house. The poll shows the real problem isn't one thing, it's everything. Everything right now is just so high, and it really illustrates how people are trying to survive now. And so the reality check is, you're not failing with money. It feels like the whole system's broken. Something's got to change. A lot of things during the pandemic, when gas prices went bananas and people were like snatching up everything, transportation costs went way up. So the cost gets passed on to consumers, and it's hard to bring that back down, especially since a lot of those costs are still there. So let me know what you think. Let me know how you're coping with the higher prices of things. Are you a homeowner? Are you a renter? Is it something you're still looking to buy? There are a lot of benefits to renting over homeownership. So let me know in the comments what you think. Please like the video, please subscribe to the channel, and I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.